I hope you're doing okay. I know it's a little tough this weekend, knowing that prom would have been last night. So I hope everybody's doing all right. And I'm thinking about you guys. I wanted to run through our calendar for this week and clarify anything. And of course, as always, if you have questions, please reach out and I will answer those as soon as I see them. So for this week, tomorrow I will see as many of you as possible for the Socratic Seminar Google Meet at 11 a.m. I will send out the link for the meet right around 11. My kids usually have meetings at that time too with their teachers, so just hang tight. If I don't get it to you right at 11, know that I'm getting it to you. I just have to get my kids set up with their Google Meets with their classes as well. And we will have the Socratic Seminar for My Childhood in a Cult. Remember, that is going in the assessment category. So you do want to make sure that you come for Monday or Wednesday's makeup session. For Wednesday's makeup session, if there's a better time that works for people, please reach out to me and let me know. It seems like every time I ask, people are comfortable with that 11 a.m., but I'm very flexible. So if there's something later that works, that's absolutely fine. I mean, if 7 o'clock works for people who need to do makeup, I know a lot of you are working. Just let me know because we're just stuck at home, so I can do that. And then if neither of those times work, you need to reach out to me right away because we have to do something because it is, like I said, going in the assessment category. So this is what will impact your grade much more than the classwork assignments that have been going in, okay? Remember that your grades still can go up or down even though we're in this virtual learning craziness right now. So also on Monday, I'm assigning chapters 17 through 20. Those will be due on Wednesday. So Tuesday, you have time to read as well for chapters 17 through 20. And then there is a title analysis assignment that's due on Friday for chapters 17 through 20. And here's what that looks like. So the chapter titles, this is why I miss teaching this book, are really, really interesting. Sometimes Tara titles her chapters to reflect something that's going on in the chapter. So, well, they always reflect what's going on in the chapter. But for example, the chapter title Cream Shoes, where she talks about, the shoes that was her mother who had to wear to church. And, so we want to think about why she's titling her chapters like that. Or the chapter Tiny Harlots, because when she sees the little girls as ballerinas in their little, cute little tutu uniforms, she refers to them as harlots, and harlots are essentially sluts. So it's kind of interesting how she chooses those titles. But a lot of them are actually biblical references. And so what I want you to do is, if you cannot find the phrase in the chapter, like Cream Shoes or Tiny Harlots, or Midwife is one of the other chapter titles, chances are it is a biblical reference. And so I want you to do a Google search where you look up the actual chapter title. Okay, so like Blood and Feathers is certainly a reference to the Bible in the beginning. So just Google it, type it in, and it should come up right away as to where it's coming from in the Bible. So think about chapter 9, for example. The chapter title of that one is Perfect in His Generations. And that's the one where her dad preps for Y2K and then it doesn't happen. And that Perfect in His Generations is actually a reference to Noah and Noah's Ark, because Noah was considered perfect in his generations. And Noah is, he's righteous and he's blameless and he walks faithfully with God. And so when God tells him to build the ark, he builds it. Flood happens. Noah and his wife survive, and they, restart humanity all over again. And so Tara's dad thinks that this is what's going to happen to him with Y2K. He thinks that God is telling him, like, the end of the world is coming and you have to do all these things to prepare for it. And then it doesn't happen. And so at the end of that chapter on page 91, that last paragraph reads, "He seemed smaller to me than he had that morning. The disappointment in his features was so childlike. For a moment, I wondered how God could deny him this. He, a faithful servant who suffered willingly, just as Noah had willingly suffered to build the ark. But God withheld the flood." And so Tara titles it that so that she can make this comparison between, here's this man who is so devout to God and his beliefs and his religion, and he does all this stuff only to have himself, pretty much destroyed because of that. Everything that he believes turns out to not be true at this time. And this is a common theme with people who believe in doomsday prepping, or, they look at, certain dates and think, what's going to happen in the future. And so they try and predict the end of the world, and they prep, and then that thing doesn't happen. And so what does that do to someone's faith? And what does that scenario do to Tara's faith and do to her belief in her father and the things that he believes? Because this does shape her. This does shape her. She starts to pull away from her family even more. She sees all the work her father does only to have it, crash and burn essentially. So what I just did verbally is what you're going to do written for me. So you will, figure out what does it mean to keep it holy in chapter 17. And you want to find a line or passage that reflects the chapter title. It may not use the whole words, much like my example from chapter 9 does. When she references Noah, that is the trigger for me of, oh, yeah, that's what she's talking about with perfect generations. And then you'll explain how she questions her family's beliefs and how that relates to the chapter title. That's the analysis component in the column right here for you. And then I'm attempting to highlight and it's not going well. So that's where you'll do the analysis like I just did, where I explain how the chapter title is, reflected and how that changes Tara and how she questions things. So that is due Friday. And then you want to keep reading because for 21 through 26, that will be due on Monday. On Monday, you will have a quiz over those chapters. You can use your book on the quiz. However, your Chromebook is going to lock down when you log in for your quiz. So you won't be able to use any other sites or anything like that. You also will have a specific time that you need to take that quiz. We're doing our best to minimize cheating and all that good stuff. So you want to make sure that you're caught up on the reading. It is, again, going in the assessment category. So you'll have a grade this week for assessments and a grade next week for assessments. So those of you that are kind of like sitting on that bubble and watching those grades, this will be a way to, kick you one way or the other, hopefully up and not down. So I think that's all I have for you for this week. Please let me know if you need anything. One more thing. Maybe you're still listening. Maybe not. I hope you still are. If you want to have a Google Meet next week to talk about the book, I am totally open to that. Just let me know your thoughts, or I can send out, a little survey or something. I don't always hear back from a lot of you, so it's better for me if you let me know, when I send those things out, if you actually respond, just to try and do, service to everybody. Okay. All right. Have a great Sunday. The weather's supposed to be nice. So I don't know, maybe you're going to clean your garage and mow the lawn like we're planning to do. Super exciting over here. Miss you guys. And I will see you tomorrow.